This episode is brought to you by Buick. Buick certified service technicians are factory trained to fit your vehicle with the tires specifically developed for it. And with our tire price match guarantee, you get the best fit for the best deal. Buick, exceptional by design. Available on select eligible tire brands at participating dealers only. Offer ends 12/31/2025. Terms apply. See dealer for complete details. Visit buick.com/service to learn more.
This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today on CityCast Madison, it's July. It's time to fry food. Let's cook. We're talking about the best things to do, to see, and to eat. And joining me today is our executive producer, Haley Sperling. Hey, Haley.
Hi, Bianca. I'm ready to get some fried food this July. Let's go.
Yes, and I haven't had any all year, so I'll be really looking forward.
Same.
And joining us is our newsletter editor, Rob Thomas. Hey, Rob.
Happy July. Happy Canada Day today.
Happy Canada Day today. Okay, well, we're going to talk about what's happening in Madison this month, right? And I'm going to kick us off. And I feel like when I picked my favorite things to share, a lot of them have to do with places I worked. So I'm just going to say that straight up. My first one, and a huge event that happens in Madison, is the Madison Museum of Contemporary Art's 67th Annual Art Fair on the Square, which is like a huge gathering of artists from across the country, all at our Capitol Square on July 12th and 13th. And it's a massive thing. Like, this is a staple for summer in Madison. Art Fair on the Square brings 200,000 patrons from around the region to downtown. So, like, you're going to know when this is happening. And so we're going to talk about it. Y'all, have you been? Do you like Art Fair on the Square?
I love Art Fair on the Square. I try and go every year. I usually try and go like closer to when it's ending because one, there's fewer people, smaller crowds, but also two, there's a lot of traveling artists who show up and sometimes they're just like looking to unload their inventory by the time that the festival is over. So they'll give you some sweet deals if you go like in the hours before they're closing up shop. So hot tip there.
I didn't know that. My wife and I got engaged at Art Fair on the Square.
Oh my
God.
Because we were looking for rings and we found a really nice guy from North Carolina who had brought beautiful rings. We picked him out and he's like, okay, well, I'll have them for you in 2 months. And we were like, we don't wait 2 months to get engaged. So I just got on my knees right there among the tents, among the paintings and proposed. So it was pretty fun.
Rob. This is an incredible detail of your life to learn. That is so gorgeous and how apt for you to be surrounded by art.
Well, I waited till the end of the fair too, so I was a kind of a discount. So I think that probably helped seal the deal.
Y'all, I'm glad to have the discount tips because look, we're all out here trying to save money, but we do love that. And actually, funny enough, the thing that I'm really excited about going to the Square for Art Fair on the Square is to look for rings. A couple years ago, there was a vendor who had just like really cute, super simple metal rings that like you get like, 6 of them and then you look hip. That's I got those like 6 of them and I have 1 or 2 to be found. So I want more rings. Let's get more details about the Art Fair on the Square. They've got so many different art mediums there. And one of the things that for sure they have are like delicate contemporary jewelry. That is something that is there in spades. Art ranges from all mediums. So like jewelry, they've got handmade furniture, ceramics, wall art, of course, photography. You can find everything around that square. And there are 450 artists and artisans that will be there. So like there's so much to get into. And it's just this time of year where there's an art gallery outside. And I don't know, I like that. I like the vibe. It's really cool. The event is free and they've got, beer and wine garden where proceeds will go to help this happening next year. But those are partnerships with downtown breweries and a downtown wine shop. So it's very local as well as something, you can meet people from North Carolina. They've got music. They've got dancing acts, it's the whole shebang. But I will say, every time I go, I can't help it. I make friends. I'm drawn to the artists. I met a man from New Orleans who still stays in my psyche. He was so beautiful, wearing all white linen and had gorgeous dreads, and his spirit was so lovely. He had been an artist for 5 decades, and all of his art was New Orleans inspired and personally inspired. And I still think about him. I never forget. And last time I went, I think I ran into 2 artists from the Bay Area who had these beautiful paintings that were mythical creatures that definitely were brightly colored and would appeal to kids, but frankly also adults and your imagination. There's a lot to be seen and had at the art fair on the square. And I also just want to shout out, Momoka's got a newer director who we interviewed on the show, Paul Baker Prindle. And I just remember gaining a ton of respect for him and his vision for Momoka moving forward. Definitely worth going back and listening to that episode if you haven't heard that conversation. We get into some of the, community issues that came up with Momoka in past years and how they're trying to bring the community in to this fantastic art fixture that people across the Midwest value and come to. So I'm really excited for Art Fair on the Square. Y'all, that is my to-do for July.
I love it. I love it. There's also Art Fair off the square, which happens separately, but on the same days as Art Fair on the square. And this one's more so focused on Wisconsin specific artists. So Bianca, you mentioned all these amazing people that come in from across the country for Art Fair on the square, and Art Fair off the square, like I said, is really focused on those local folks. And that's also happening July 12th and 13th. And it's right on MLK Jr. Boulevard. So such a great opportunity to check out so much art in this town. And that kind of brings me to my to-do for this July. Of course, it is festival season. June brought us Waterfront Festival, Bike Week, Jazz Fest, and so much more. But don't worry, because there are still plenty of summer festivals to get excited about this month. And I wanted to talk briefly about 2 kind of big ones that are happening over on the east side. And the first up is Fête de Marquette. It is happening July 10th through 13th. So maybe if you're over at the art festival, you take a walk off the square and you come on over to Fête de Marquette. It's hosted by the Wilmar Neighborhood Center at McPike Park. It is free, family-friendly, and full of great performances and vendors, both food, art, jewelry, otherwise. I love these East Side festivals. Bianca, you're talking about those rings. I will just spend hours looking at I need to look at every single ring. Yes. I'm so nervous to try them on because it's hot and sweaty and my fingers are so bloated, and I'm nervous that one of them is going to get stuck on me and I'm going to have to be well, I guess I'm buying this $100 ring now.
And all the sodium we've been eating.
Exactly. We're walking around, we're eating fried food. And I don't know, I love Fête de Marquette. The festival is billed as, quote, rooted in the spirit of Bastille Day, which we've already talked about, the National Day of Canada. Bastille Day is the National Day of France, which is celebrated on July 14th every year. So y'all, have you been to Fête de Marquette?
Absolutely. And when you say French, it's the whole French, diaspora, I guess you would say. Yeah. So it's also Cajun music. It's, the Caribbean, I think. Sometimes, all kinds of different music fall under the umbrella of French music. It's not just, snooty French pop from the 60s or whatever. So it's a really great, really wide net that it catches with all the different kinds of music they play.
There's tons of New Orleans bands. I know I'm always talking about New Orleans. And part of that is because I've got, genealogical lineage back to New Orleans, on the black side of my family. People came north from there. There's this huge melting pot, right, in that space. And French kind of mixed with Creole, their own cultures over here in the U.S. And I love seeing who they get on the Rasta.
Yeah, I feel like Fête de Marquette, it's kind of like a mini Madison Mardi Gras in a way is how I would describe it. They really do lean into those Cajun, like you mentioned, Rob, and Creole festivities. They lean into the Mardi Gras colors, that purple, gold, and green. Some event highlights for y'all in case you haven't been. There's a karaoke competition for kids.
Oh, I literally just perked up. I was like, I want to play.
Well, you're in luck. there is an open mic for all of the shower singers out there. So you can get your chance up on stage, Bianca. And speaking of stages, this is a big festival. There are 6 stages with over 60 artists performing over these 4 days. So it's going to be very exciting. In addition to Fête de Marquette, it's also the 13th edition of Musique Électronique. That's my best attempt at French. Which runs in tandem with the Fête de Marquette Festival, and it features like underground, techno, house, electro, and ambient music. And on Saturday, something that's exciting, they are hosting a collab with Hot Summer Gaze to throw a dance party. So like there's just going to be a whole lot going on that weekend, and it's going to be so fun. But wait, there is always so much more. We can't talk about summer festivals without me giving a shout out to my favorite summer festival, and that is Atwood Fest. You guys know, East Side girly. I love the sassy neighborhood. Been here for going on like 6 years now. It's probably the longest place that I've lived in Madison. I love it out here. Anyways, Atwood Fest is happening July 26th and 27th over on Atwood Avenue. This East Side Fest is definitely smaller and a little bit more neighborhood focused than Fête de Marquette. Like I said, Fête de Marquette, 6 stages. It is happening. There's electronic music coming in. There's Hot Summer Gaze. We love it. Atwood Fest is just 3 stages. And then they also have plenty of local vendors, a lot of whom are like from the area. So there's like Alchemy and Bar Corlini and all those good folks. So personally, I love Atwood Fest. I've volunteered there in the past. It's always a good time. It can be as chill or as exciting as you want it to be. Like I said, Fête is definitely more of like a party vibe, but also just a lot more people in general because it's just so much space, right? McPike Park, it's a big area. So yeah, I love Atwood Fest. Have you guys ever been / do you guys have a favorite East Side festival? I just kind of revealed my favorite.
I mean, Atwood Fest to me is like, it's like a larger version of those block parties where you just, people put down the barriers and close off the streets and everybody out in the street until wee hours. It just has that vibe to it, that very local neighborhood vibe. And in some ways it might be my favorite as well, even though like it's always the bands at Lafette, I think, or even Sessions, which is now at Garver, that sort of catch my eye. But as for a pure East Side festival, it is hard to beat Atwood Fest.
Yeah, I'm going to say Lafette. Yeah.
It's huge. It's great.
I think what's really cool too is when I went to UW-Madison as a student, one of the first things I wrote about, like I did an essay on La Fête de Marquette, and I was like, oh, there's such an interesting history. And so I'd been going there since I was in college, and it's really evolved. Like it has always been big, and it's this big world music festival. Now there are so many stages, and that electronic dance fest, I mean, I'll be honest, I got a little scared and like didn't stay, but it was popping. If you have the nerve, if you have the verve to go out and dance, like there was like tons of people with glow sticks, and it was truly like, I'm like, this is a very alive moment over on the East Side.
That's my scene. I love the electronic festivals. You can catch me out there with glow stick. But Rob, I know you've got some stuff to do this month too.
Yeah. And mine's also musical. It feels much smaller than your guys. Your guys' are these big events. This is just 2 shows happening in July that are sort of linked in a sort of fun way. The first is that one of my favorite bands, the Decemberists, are playing at the Orpheum Theater on July 26th. If you know the Decemberists, they've been around probably 25 years by now, from Portland, sort of indie pop made by and for grad students, I would describe it, with lots of, they're sort of known for wide-ranging vocabulary and doing songs based on like Japanese folktales and sea shanties and things like that. And they've really kept up the quality over the years. So that show is close to selling out, I think. I think it's just balcony tickets at this point, but I got mine. So, but by sheer coincidence, there's another band coming to Madison who's sort of inspired by the Decemberists. It's a band called the Crane Wives. Crane Wife is the name of a Decemberist title song from an album from about 20 years ago. And they also play indie folk, and they're coming to the Sylvie on July 11th. So I thought it's going to be fun to, within 2 weeks, to see basically like this sort of older band and then a new band that they inspired within 2 weeks of each other.
Rob, I feel like these guides, these monthly guides, I like love you more and more all the time. I learn all of these details about you and the fact that, that you love the Decemberists. It's definitely Madison loves the Decemberists. I know that was a band like I was out in these Madison streets crying to the Crane Wife. Like those songs, I dreamt I was an architect. Like maybe because Madison's so academic and intellectual that we really like that crazy vocabulary. We want to get down on it.
The Decemberists will talk about like their first show here was in the catacombs. If you guys remember that on campus, and they played, it was like a little basement, and they played, and there was a tornado drill, and like they all had to like lock down with the audience during the tornado drill, and so that every time they come back, I think they bring that up. That was a pretty core memory for them when they were a struggling young band.
Well, we have a lot of things to do, and we're going to turn to things to see in a second, and with some more music. Before we get to that, let's take a quick break.
Learning through play starts with Lego Duplo. With Lego Duplo, toddlers can develop real-life skills while having fun with colorful bricks made just for them. Large, easy to grip, and safe to explore. When children express themselves with Lego Duplo, they build patience, problem solving, and empathy. See your child learn perseverance and self-expression with everything they imagine and create. Visit lego.com/preschool to learn more.
Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant.
Whoa, that's refreshing.
And a 9.5 plus pH for every way you move.
I did take a Spain class today.
Restoring like a pro. Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
All right, this July guide is really filling me with hope and love and excitement for all the things happening. I am bringing us our first to see option this month, and it is a very special documentary screening and Q&A at the new Atwood Music Hall on the night of Wednesday, July 9th. That documentary is the Smart Studios story, the Midwest link to the history of American rock and roll. That's directed by local filmmaker and rock and roller herself, Wendy Schneider, with a special guest, local music legend Butch Vig. He's a famous music producer and drummer of the famous rock band Garbage. So, fun fact, I know I said about my work experience, I worked at Momoka. I also actually worked on this documentary for a hot second, right after college for a couple months. Yeah, that's Madison. It's a small town, y'all. Yeah, I mean, maybe you worked on it too, if you're but I was a research assistant for a moment and looked at some of the history and the context of this incredible story. And the documentary, you may have heard of it already. It premiered at South by Southwest back in 2016. It was in multiple film festivals. And if you've been around Madison and you're cued into the music scene, you probably have heard of it. But the subject itself is Madison lore gold, dating back to the 70s, 80s with the creation of Smart Studios and what they became. Rob, you're a music head and have been covering the scene. Is there any words you'd say about the significance of Smart Studios? I got things to share, but I want to throw to you.
Yeah, it's huge. When I first moved to Madison, it was just hard to believe that this very nondescript little brick building was so influential. It had so many great albums to play there. And I remember when I first came to town, I would drive down East Wash, and sometimes I swear I would pass Shirley Manson in a car going into Smart Studio to record what I think must have been their third album. And I love that documentary. That's so cool you worked on it, Bianca, because it really celebrates. It's not just here's all the famous people who made records there, but it's all the, all the local bands and all the people you may not have heard of and how influential this was. Madison was really known for a while for this very special do-it-yourself indie sound. And so the documentary really captures that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Haley, do you have any touches with this?
I mean, my favorite thing, and usually it's the opposite sentiment with this, is that Smart Studios is now like an Airbnb. Usually
the building it was in.
Yeah, the building itself over on East Wash has been so lovingly restored and just turned into this great space. And normally you hear people bemoaning the rise of Airbnbs, especially in terms of gentrification and whatnot. And Madison does have kind of a complicated relationship with them as well. But this is kind of one scenario where I'm glad that this can be turned into not a shared space, but a space that a lot of different people can connect to or can utilize, because it does have so much musical history and it is just such a draw. You can stay there and it's cool. I'm really interested in the documentary because I don't really know a whole lot about the area itself. So it's cool to see who performed there and who recorded there. I know one of my favorite artists, Fall Out Boy, definitely recorded there. So you can find little emo hearts everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it is a complicated issue, the Airbnb, but keeping the building itself nice is a wonderful thing. Like, it seems nondescript, but it's red. So like it kind of stands out in the area. Yeah, like over on the corner of East Wash and Baldwin, right across from the Baldwin Grill. And, you know, you should go see the documentary if you haven't already to learn more about it. But Butch Vig and Steve Marker started Smart Studios actually across the street in 1983 to produce local bands. So it really was something for the local scene, and some local killers. I'm saying killers because one of the bands is Killdozer, really, you know, who took off and are a big part of our Madison punk metal ethos and history. They attracted that little band that we all know now as Nirvana to come and like record at the studio. And yeah, some of the other names like the Smashing Pumpkins, Garbage, obviously, which Vic and Marker are two of the four members. Like you said, Fall Out Boy, Death Cab for Cutie. It's got this great history, and I want to go see that documentary. But I know it's not the only screening in town that's worth seeing.
You know, I'm a big movie guy, and I really love summer blockbuster movie season. Even if the movies aren't so good, it's just fun to go to, you know, a big theater and see a big movie. But like by July, I'm sort of getting tired of like the Marvel movies and the Jurassic Park sequels and stuff like that. So this is always a perfect time because the UW Cinematheque launches its free summer movie series at Vilas Hall right about now. They started last week and they're going to run Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays through the end of the month, through the end of July. And if you've never been, like, it's really a movie lover's dream. Like, Bianca, you and I have talked about on the podcast how it's rough that Madison doesn't really have a downtown movie theater, like an Alamo Draft House or something like that. And Cinematheque, which has been around a long time, has really kind of filled that gap and created this series, which is programmed by the Department of Communication Arts, that I think, you know, it celebrates like great movies, like classic cinema and things that you have never seen before, but also brings in movies that you may have seen, but you've never seen with an audience, and often with like a 35 millimeter print or 4K restoration. So it's a really fun mix of programming. This summer they're doing a couple of tributes. One is to the great David Lynch, who died in January, and he spent a lot of time in Madison. There was just a showing of his art at the Chazen, and they're going to show Mulholland Drive and a collection of his rarely seen short films with his former producing partner, Mary Sweeney, will be there to talk about his work and talk about her role in it. And then there's also several films paying tribute to Gene Hackman, the great character actor. I think French Connection 2 is playing tomorrow night, July 2nd, and there's several ones. He was one of those guys who you're like, oh, actually, he was awesome. You know, he was in so much stuff. So it's a great way to see those films again on the big screen with an audience. But like the way they curate that series, they have so much cool stuff. Like there's some Hong Kong action movies, and there's some classic French epics, and there's like an old W.C. Fields comedy movie from the 30s, and there's an 80s zombie movie, and like it's all mixed together, and it's all free. And, you know, the only drawback to Cinematheque is you cannot bring food or drink into the theater. And like, I've never wanted popcorn more than when I'm denied it in the Cinematheque.
So real. Real. You don't want it until you can't have
exactly.
it.
Yeah. It's deprivation therapy or whatever. So, but otherwise the AC works, and I think it's a great time in the summer.
And, you know, speaking of classics, my pick for things to see, I'm taking you guys outside of the city of Madison proper, but not too far, I promise. We're going to Monona for their classic and much beloved Monona Community Festival. And I don't know if y'all know this, but this is the festival that almost wasn't. To catch you up, last year it was announced that the festival would be ending. They said 2024 is going to be our last year. They said things are getting too expensive and there weren't enough volunteers. And almost immediately after that announcement was made, I saw people online rallying to save the festival and to keep it going. And there was a Facebook page that was made called Save the Monona Community Festival. Pretty apt name, It popped up and folks started organizing to save the festival. And plot twist, they did it, The festival is back this year and expected to draw thousands of people to Winnequa Park on July 3rd and 4th. So some highlights, I'm really on the festival beat on this one, y'all. Some highlights for this year's festival include a kids' bike parade, a cornhole tournament, a classic car show, drag queen bingo, and of course, an amazing fireworks display. I think it's truly one of the best fireworks display in the Madison area, especially after we lost Shake the Lake. Like, that was a big bummer. Now I go to Monona to watch fireworks. I've gone to the community festival for the past couple of years, and it's super, super fun. And this fest, like, they really go all out. It's not like huge in terms of like space or whatever, but on July 3rd, it runs 3 p.m. to midnight, and July 4th, it runs 9 a.m. to midnight. So they know how to party out there, Monona. Bianca, I know you've been to this festival.
I have, and I went last year and was sort of a volunteer with the wife carry, which when I learned like what that was, I was disturbed. I'm like, okay, this is the most sexist stuff ever. I'm no fun, right? I'm no fun.
Bianca, you've literally worked everywhere. There's nowhere we can bring up that you have not worked at or volunteered at.
Well, that's kind of why I'm in this job. I'm just like, Yes, I ended up being pulled into that happily. And it was last year, it rained and it still happened. Dozens of couples compete and carry like they're largely heteronormative couples are competing, carrying a woman across obstacles. And it's honestly a little scary, but being a volunteer, it poured rain last year and I was just standing in a puddle, keeping people off of the track. And
no.
Yeah, it was honestly one of the most fun things I've ever had. And honestly, Winnequa Park is huge. Like, I actually thought that I had to walk blocks, it felt like, to get to the place I was trying to get to within the park. And there's a lot going on there. I think they're carnival rides. Like, it's kind of a go-off moment.
It's a big show. Like, it's a big show out. And that's also one thing to note, too, is that parking is definitely a commodity. It's limited. The organizers are really trying to push people to bike or walk to the festival. So, yeah, parking is definitely going to be a premium. If you can walk, you should do it. But yeah, wife carry is a fun event. I think our producer Jade says she has 2 male friends who are participating in the wife carry. So it just shows anyone can be a wife. Wife can be whatever you mean.
My first I was like, I want to carry my partner. I was like, why am I even working out to build my leg strength?
I was going to say, and I think you'd win.
Yeah, if not. And like the big thing is the winner like puts their partner on a seesaw, and depending on how much they weigh, you get that weight in beer.
Oh my God.
This is wild. I had no idea that the wife carry had so much. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Monona is a crazy place, y'all.
Yeah.
Monona is a crazy
to think
place.
We almost lost this. That is terrifying. Yeah.
This is our culture.
Yeah.
We cannot lose the wife carry.
And it's daunting. Like, watching it, I was like, I want to do this. And also, you better be real serious because these people are athletes trying to make this happen. So,
pros and cons to having a small wife. You could win the wife carry, but that means you win less beer. So, wear a helmet, Jade says. You don't want to fall.
Well, we're talking about beer, talking about drinking. There are things to eat this July. We're going to get into that. But first, let's take a quick break.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast Gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast Gems.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app? Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
All right, y'all, we're back and we're talking about what to eat in July. And I'm just going to go first. I'm going to keep it quick and simple. I want to go back to Fromagination on the Capitol Square. I don't know if y'all have heard of it. Have you guys eaten there? It's like a cheeses and charcuterie place that has like tastings and...
I've heard and I've been inside, but I've never actually eaten. I've heard they also do good lunch, like raclette, right?
So they do raclette, right? The melty cheese, you can get in on that. But their sandwiches are incredible. And I used to work on the square.
No.
So it was a go-to. Specifically, their sandwich, Pasture Harvest, smoked turkey breast, Granny Smith apple slices, and Emmy Ross, Wisconsin Swiss. Like, apples with cheese, y'all. Like, I've been eating a lot more apples this month for whatever reason. And so I've been thinking about Fromagination. And after listening to the conversation, Haley, you had with the maestro, the director of the Wisconsin Chamber Orchestra, which plays for concerts on the square, I was like, they would probably be a great place for Fromagination to go and like get some ideas for charcuterie boards, like get your little cheeses, and then of course, I look on their website. They have tasting menus for each concert.
Oh my God.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. They're right there. So they have tasting menus with each concert theme. So crafted cheese, meat, fruit, veggie, and dessert trays. So I will be interested in going back to Fromagination for the first time in over a decade.
Yeah, we've ordered sandwiches from there when we went to concerts on the square, and they're really good. I don't think they were like Mozart themed sandwiches. They were just good sandwiches.
Well, Rob, what are you gonna eat?
Well, speaking of food and performance and combining the two, you guys probably know the musical Wicked is coming back and basically taking over Overture Hall for the month of July. It's going to be running there from July 9th to July 27th. It's like I think it's the fourth time it's been at Overture. And of course, it comes at a time when Wicked Part 1 was in theaters last fall. Wicked Part 2 is coming this fall. So I think it's going to be popular. Is that how you say it? Is that how you say it? Okay.
Yes!
Okay.
Crushed it.
Yeah.
Ariana who?
That's right.
Yes. I mean, were you considered?
That's right. I mean, yeah, I may understudy. We'll see if they need anybody.
I definitely want to go to this. Definitely going to make it over to the Overture for this because I don't know if you guys remember, but I was like a little into the movie.
I've only seen the movie, so I only know the first half, so I don't know how things end. So I'll have to go see it so I can find out the rest. But so one new thing Overture is doing this time around is this pre-show experience called the Ozdust Lounge. And so for an extra $45, 75 minutes before the show starts, you get access to the special VIP area where they serve up a special Wicked-themed cocktail. I assume it's either pink or green. You get snacks, you get sweet treats, and then they give you a souvenir to take home. So if you're like Bianca and like the 2-hour and 45-minute musical is just not long enough, like here's a way to extend the Wicked experience to another hour or so.
It just feels magic. Ozdust Lounge? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is brilliant.
Yeah,
great work, Overture.
Yeah.
Well, Haley, I don't know. I mean, I think you would also be up in that Ozdust Lounge.
Absolutely. All up in that Ozdust, but for our things to eat this month, I'm keeping us in Monona. Plot twist, we're doing it again. I want to give a shout out to the North Shore Pizza and Sub spot in Monona. I went there for the first time recently. They are not new. They opened back in 2022. and it is right over on Monona Drive. And it's run by this husband and wife couple, Dennis and Savannah Lobner. And they met in Massachusetts and have been married for a little while. And the whole spot is this like Boston themed, very casual sandwich shop, just kind of a place where it's like no frills. You sit down, you chill, and you can have whatever you want. I ate their sandwich for the first time recently, and it was just so good. And the food also, like, it was good and it was cheap, because one of their core beliefs is good quality food at an affordable price. That's their mission. And I think they have truly hit the nail on the head. Literally everything I got there was amazing. I have been searching for more access to pastrami sandwiches ever since Stalzi's closed their eat-in services. Of course, you can still get their deli services, but the food was really good. They do subs, sandwiches, any type of fried appetizer you can think of. I had some mozzarella sticks that were amazing, fried mushrooms that were amazing. My boyfriend had a gyro that was really good. They do steak sandwiches. And then on top of that, they also do pizzas. So it's like super fun, super cute. I was talking about this with our producer Jade earlier, and she said like this would be a great spot to go like after your sort of like little league game. You know, there's an arcade next door. The vibes, like I said, are super casual. When I went there was like definitely a high schooler working behind the counter. And I was like, this is a spot. This is a good spot. So I think it's just kind of an underrated one that we're sleeping on, and I want to show people the way.
You want more sandwiches? And you went out and you've heard that you wanted to get more sandwiches in your life, Haley. So I'm happy to hear that you have been doing that. Y'all, we have a full month of July ahead of us. I am super stoked. Thank you so much for rounding up all the goods and the events and the festivals that we want to hit. It's been super fun. Haley Sperling, thank you.
Thanks, Bianca.
And Rob Thomas, thanks so much.
Thanks, Bianca.
That's CityCast Madison's executive producer, Haley Sperling, and our Madison Minutes newsletter writer, Rob Thomas, on to talk about our July guide. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with someone who loves our local music scene? All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.